it's a very long name. So if you can share just a bit my my presentation, please. I
Yeah, I'll
prepare for
share in
you.
a bit. I'll share in a
Yeah.
bit when you come.
Yes.
Just I'll share in a bit. I'll
Just
share in a bit.
to,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Yes, and if you are ready, I'm going to talk more about business communications because it's my field.
Hold on, Yvonne. Just hold on a bit. Just hold on a bit.
Yeah.
It's bright. Then I'll come to you.
It's boiling. It's boiling. You
It's
need
boiling.
to
I
get
can
that
see.
right.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So we have Jonathan Bright.
Mhm.
Jonathan Bright is the CEO of Spear Group of Companies. She's a business consultant and a senior communicator. So if you want to learn public speaking, Jonathan Bright is the guy to go to. He said that if you can't sell, you can't be an entrepreneur. And it's true. Entrepreneurship is about selling. If you can't sell, you can't be an entrepreneur. So keep an eye on the skills. So I'll give Yvonne the platform to use her 15 minutes, and then we'll come back to Bright. So I'm going to share your screen, your presentation. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I just
So
want you to focus on the presentation. I will scroll for you. It's my,
yeah, thank you.
yes, no problem.
First of all, if you are ready to follow my presentation, can you put a little reading in the discussion, please? Just a little message to see if you are here. Just write down there, ready, so that we can get ready to, yeah, to begin this. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I would like you, yeah, thank you, Mark. Now I'm going to talk about how to promote your products and your services. So of course, if you have a very good, maybe a project, many products and many services, very good ones, but how can you make known and how can you promote these products and services? But first of all, I would like to just talk 1 minute about myself, the second slide. So I am the CEO of Le Digital. Le Digital is a company which connects women in Africa to promote them in digital field. So we help women to find their career in digital, like virtual assistant, like community management and all these things. So it was created in Madagascar. And apart from this, I'm also a digital communications and also public relations consultant from the International Organization of Francophonie in Eastern and Middle of Europe. So I'm here now in Bucharest, in Romania. Apart from that, I was also a communication and marketing manager in a mall in Madagascar, and also a communication coordinator and community manager at the Alliance Française of Madagascar. So it's a French institute. This is my experiences, and I'm going to share with you all the things. What can I say? The value, the big value about communication. How can you promote? How can you communicate around your project? So let's go if you're ready. I see many reading in the chat here. So can you move to the next slide, please?
Sure.
Yes. So we have many tools, many mediums, many means of communication in the world. So here I just summarize them for you. Here are the the main stages when you want to promote your product or your services. So the first stage of this is the brand. I'm gonna explain you how to do it after this, but this is the things how you can categorize them. So first of all, you need the brand to be, how to say, very strong brand. And after this, you need the visibility. You need, after a good brand, if you have a good brand, how can people see you? So you need visibility. But after people know about you, how can make you, how can convert these people that know about you to buy your product? So this is the last field, is the conversion. That's why we have these 3 stages when you need to promote your product or your service. Yes. And now we are going to go deeper in this in each stages. I'm gonna show you what are the how to say, what are the possibilities to do the brand, to do the visibility, and also to enhance your conversion. Now the next slide, please, Enoch, thank you. Here I'm going to share a bit my experiences about communications field, about the business communications. So first of all, you have the your product done, you have the service. Like I want to create my company, for example, about an application which can manage your accountancy or your human resources. But how can you promote this? So first of all, if you have the product, you need a branding message. About the branding message, you need to be strong. You need to think about 4 things. This is the first thing that you should do. What are the 4 things that you need to think about? Is the 4 P's. I'm gonna tell you what are these 4 P's. So first of all, you need to begin by the problem. What kind of problem would you solve with your product or your service? Just after the problem, you need to search for the persons. The persons will be the customers, your customers who are going to buy your product. Exactly, because you cannot reach everyone for a product or your services. You need to be clear for this. What kind of person, the age, the demographical, the place, where are they? For example, it's in Cameroon, it's in Madagascar, it's in France, or it's in Canada. All these things you need to know. And also the salary of your customer, what is the range of the salary of your customer, and also even the sex. You need to know if you are more for women or more for men or both of them, or what kind of type of person. It's for young, it's for old, it's for, so you need to be clear in the beginning. What is the person? After the person, you need to know the process. So if you know the problem, for example, the problem is to lose weight. It's just my example. To lose weight, and how to lose weight, for who? For example, for women after giving birth. And after this, what is the process? The process is without diet, for example, but you have a kind of natural product to keep you healthy. So this is the process, how you are going to solve this problem of this person. And the last P is the promise. With this problem, with this person, with this process, what is the result of your project, your product, your service? So for example, if I'm a freelancer and I'm proposing a service, like I'm a designer, you can say, I build a very good, strong logo for you, so that you can, you can enhance your communication and attract more customers for only for companies. Let's say, for example, after the branding message, you need your visual brand identity. About your visual brand identity, first you need to have the colors that which will define your brand. So for example, you can use the tools like Adobe, and after this, you don't need to change every time your colors, because as Coca-Cola, as KFC, as this kind of brand, you can just in one, when it passes in your field, for example, in social media, you can say exactly in 1 second that, yeah, this is a Coca-Cola, this is a McDonald's, it is any kind of product. So you see, the colors are very important, and you need to respect this in the beginning in each visual brand that you will do. After this, the font. About the font, you need to choose 3 fonts for your visual, so that you will not change every time. Like today, I will do Times New Roman. After 1 day, you need to do another one. So you need to be stable in your brand identity. It's very important. And the logo also, you need to do it according to the colors and also the fonts that you should do. So for the logo, you can use, for example, a kind of application as Canva. Is very easy to use, and you can do it in the beginning if the budget doesn't allow you to do it. And the last thing is the mood board. The mood board, what is mood board? So mood board is like a kind of, a clear clear vision about your brand. So even the photos that you're gonna use in your brand needs to be coherent. For example, if I'm gonna use my brand in the digital, it's more pink and gray. So I will not use a photo with, for example, a purple persons or clothes or something like this. It needs to be coherent. So you will have a strong brand identity. And the last one about the brand is the storytelling. You know now, people like more humanity. They like, you know, the how to explain it. There is a brand here, but they like exactly to know what is the vision, what is the value, who is the owner of the company. You need to tell to your customers who are you, what is your vision, how can you help them, and you can tell them, hey, you know, I'm a mom entrepreneur. This is my story. This is why I created my company. This is why I created this product. And then you create emotions, and these emotions can give you a visibility. And also people know, the vision of Jocelyn is, for example, to help women in digital. And now this is among your brand. So until here, is it clear for you? Yes, you can just put how to say a thumbs up like Coach Jonathan if it's okay for you. And I'm gonna follow, because after we have a say answer for the questions, as Enoch said, we are gonna move to the visibility. So now that you have all these things ready, your brand message, your visual brand, your storytelling, let's move to the visibility. How can you make your company, your product and service known? So first of all, yes, it's like a traditional way, but even the website is interesting. The problem is the website doesn't convert automatically. What does it mean? Now we fight so much to be among the first place in Google, to receive, to be seen by people. But I will tell you another step after, how to make a website more known and more seen. And for example, you can not only just propose your service, your product in your website, but you can put also a blog where you can write an articles for giving advices, for talking about many many subjects that giving value to your customers, so that you can also reference your blog, your website, from the engine research like Google. So you will have more visibility. And the second way is the social media. It's one of the strongest means of communication now. You cannot avoid it anymore. And also in this pandemic, it's more than urgent to create your social media if you didn't do it yet. So for this, you don't need to be on everywhere, like in every social media. And that's why you need to be clear in the beginning where are your customers. For example, if you are more for young persons, why not to be in TikTok? If you are more for people like a company, why not to be in LinkedIn? Or for example, for people like young or also coach, you can be on Instagram. So what you can do, here's the rule, just the two rules that I'm gonna give you for the social media. First rule, you need to rate 80% of your content should be just giving values. What I mean by this, you don't need to promote every day the service. Hey, today take advantage, we have a 30% off or something like this. It's not okay. You need to be, for example, my product is about let's say sport or something like this. It's not okay to say every day, this is my product, buy it or something like this. You need to give, for example, some tips, some tools that people can use. And after this, the influence marketing is very important. What is influence marketing? Influence marketing is like you are collaborating with influencers. So influencers, they have the person who follow them as more impact to buy the product than just posting your product on your Facebook page, because they are they are, as the name is said, they are influent, so they will make some influence to their followers. And you can collaborate with some agency for this. And after this, we have another means, is the collaboration. You can do a contest, you can contact this company which are already known, and you propose, for example, hey, can we make contest together? And so that you can can you comment this, and after you will make will pick a name and you're gonna give a gift, like a giveaway, like something like this. It's also interesting to have this. And the networking, if there is a meeting in your group, in your, how to say, in your city or something like this, go there and present yourself. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm Jocelyn, I'm doing this and this. And also the press release. The press release, even if it's the old method, it's also interesting, the press release, because the journalists will more talk about you. You will gonna, how to say, send an article about your product and your service. And experience share. Now it's very important also to share your experience. For example, if there are some forums, some fairs, some seminar, you can also share your experience during this time, and so that you can present at the same time your enterprises, and so that people can know, this exists. Okay, I know it now. So it's very interesting also to assist this experience, to, how to say, to share your experience. And the last step is the conversion. The conversion, now that you are visible, how can you convert your followers, let's say, to be customers? And first of all, you can do that by the email marketing. It's very famous way now. The way that you are going to do that is, for example, to propose a lead magnet from your website. What is a lead magnet? A lead magnet is a kind of freebie, a kind of document, a kind of samples of your work. For example, if I'm proposing a service like creating a website, I'm gonna give them a freebie like how to optimize your website in 3 days. And the person will gonna download this lead magnet in exchange of their email, and so that you can send now some emails to them and to take advantage to propose value for a content or service and all these things. And after this, you have also the option like social media ads that, as we know, like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all these things are very interesting also, but you need to learn from Facebook blueprint, for example, to know how to target, how to choose the objectives and all these things. And the last thing that's very interesting now is the sales funnels. And the sales funnels is a kind of way, is different from the website, because from the website you are distracted, you see many stuff and you cannot go directly to the buying page. But now we have sales funnels, and it goes there, it's only page about your product. You propose all the things that the advantage, the problems and all this, and just when the people is clicking on the buy, it goes directly to the paying page. And now I'm gonna finish with other ideas. Apart from this, we can also assist to an entrepreneurship fair. For example, if there is a fair in your city or something like that, you can participate, but just prepare your business card, your roll-up, and don't forget to put your social media and your website on your roll-up. All these means of communication. I put again the experience sharing, but it's the same, like doing live for another page, collaborating, and all these things. And also, very important, put your social media links everywhere. For example, in your email signature, all these means of communication, and you are going to, how to say, to attract people, to center people in this, in your social media. They can like, they can follow, they will see, it's interesting, this project or this idea, this product. Yes. So I think I didn't, I hope I didn't, how to say, it was so long, but it was my presentation just to give you a summary of what you need to do if you want to promote your product, your service. Yes. Thank you, Enoch.
Thank you, Jocelyn. That's communication is why we bring such a communication consultant. Is if you can't communicate, you can't sell. So you, in this 21st century, you need high step skills to communicate your business. That's why people like Yvonne are very important, and thank you for sharing such very good insights. So thank you so much. Okay, so now we jump into another interesting moment again. Coach Jonathan, it's your time, sir.
I appreciate it. So it's pretty hard to go after Yvonne, after Jocelyn. She nailed it quite well. But I want to confess, I need to confess, my friends, everything that you need to learn, you will not learn it in 15 minutes or in an hour that we're going to have here. All I'm going to do here, you see, Yvonne covered quite a lot of ground, a lot of things that I got to learn here. But you guys here were handpicked among hundreds and thousands of people who applied to this program. And then there must be something quite amazing about you. So I clap for you. I congratulate you for making it so this far. And then Enoch and I know each other for quite a while. It's been a couple of years that we knew each other, did a couple of things together, and then I want to tackle something that is very critical and nobody's talking about. We are jammed in a world of social media. We are jammed in a world where everybody wants to have their voice heard. One of the funniest things that I read recently was somebody saying that social media has, what it has done, it has given every person a voice. Unfortunately, when you go on social media, what do you get to spend most of your time doing? Most of people spend hours watching TikTok videos. Most of people spend hours, just scrolling up, scrolling down as much as possible. Well, the greatest asset that you have right now is your time. And then when I say the greatest asset that you have right now is your time, it means that from now you're probably in your 20s. You only have probably 60 years before we check out. And then let me introduce myself first. I don't want to scare you. Here. So my name is Jonathan. I am the group CEO of Spheres Connect Group. What we do consulting, we do coaching, and we do public relations as well. And then so usually we do work with major institutions and organizations to help them come up with solution that's really relevant for their target population. And I'm based right now in Vancouver, Canada. I consult in North America with a couple of companies here. But I don't want to take a lot of time telling you about myself because it's all about you here today. And then so you guys are going to have a training about diplomacy and all of that. I'll tell you one thing that every state person is, every president of a country is a walking and traveling salesperson. I'll let that sink in. Every diplomat, every public person, or every single person is a walking salesperson. Whether you love it, whether you like it or not, you're constantly selling something. And most of the time it's selling you. And so few people understand that sales is actually vital for our survival. Personally, I'm engaged. Since I met my soon-to-be wife, I've been constantly selling myself, not like, I'm the best man in the world, and then, I'm going to give you Ferrari, I'm going to buy you houses and stuff. No, she likes Range Rovers. I'm going to buy you a Range Rover. No. I'm not talking about this kind of selling, but the way you talk, the way you interact, the way you carry yourself, the way you communicate constantly tells us something about yourself. You guys are going to be on the forefront of positive change if you're not already there yet. I don't have a PowerPoint. I'm going just to have just a 15-minute coaching session with you here. You guys will ask questions.
Yeah.
The first point I want to talk about is begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. What does that mean? You should not even have the permission to start whatever is it if you don't have an end in mind yet. You should not be allowed to take a position of decision making if you don't have an end in mind? Why are you taking people there? Because most entrepreneurs, I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs in Africa and North America. And then one thing in common on all those who have not made it is that they have great goals. They have, they had energy. They started, and by the time they started, few months in, few years in, they quit. The reason is simple. Those who make it through the hardest time, those who stay longer. I spend my time, 50% of my time is focusing on understanding the biggest, sitting down and talking with people who have succeeded in life, people who have made it in whatever area. And then the other part of my time, I spend it with young people who are building something. And among those who have made it for many years, built intergenerational wealth, they will tell you one thing. What they're going to tell you is, I didn't just make the decision to start whatever it is I started, whether it's a business, whether it's a family, whether it's whatever. I didn't just make the decision to start. When I started, I make the decision to start and the decision to finish. To make the decision to start and the decision to finish, upstart at the beginning, holds you accountable.
Sorry to
I know that.
break.
What's that?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to ask on behalf of you're talking about an end in mind, and you're starting with a goal. And for sure, for any business person, not even business, you must have. But a person may ask, like, what exact capital is needed to start a business? Should I have $1 billion? Should I have in dollars, in pounds? What exactly do I need to start a business?
Awesome.
From the basics, like what really starts? Yeah.
Great question. We started Spears Connect with no money at all. Like when I started Spears Connect with my partner back in 2016, we didn't start with a capital. Yes, we got something just to register the company in Burundi back then, but it was not like we had $1 billion starting. The greatest capital that you have right now. And okay, my mentor once told me that young people fail today to start or to get going because they think the only capital you need is money. They think that you need to have a certain amount of money for you to start. No. Actually, you need to have a solution that somebody wants. And having a solution that somebody wants is not about sitting down in your room and figure out a perfect solution about what anyone wants. And then once you come up with a perfect solution, then you go start. When I'm talking about capital, you should focus on multiple areas of capital. Do you have communication is a great capital. If you have the ability, I come from countries where ethnic divides are a big deal. People literally look each other through lenses of, oh, you're from this ethnic group, I will not deal with you. But if you train yourself to speak to people, to engage in a conversation with people, whether they are from your culture, whether they're from your country, whether they are from your tribe, whether they're from your ethnic group, whether they're from your religious belief, if you develop the ability to cross-culturally speak to anyone, engage in a conversation, this is the biggest capital you'll ever have. This is one. Number two, the biggest capital you have is your network. You heard it said, your network is your net worth.
Yes.
Your network is your net worth. And what does that mean? Like a person's value and influence is measured by how many people they are willing to listen to, and by how many people how many people are willing to listen to them. And then so once you develop the ability of speaking to anybody from whichever generation, from whichever race, from whichever culture, from whichever walk of life, most of you are probably students, You have the opportunity to literally walk in someone's office and say, hey, I am a student. You have built a great empire here. You have the humility enough to go ask them a question. How did you do it? Most of these people don't get these people. But this should not minimize the money we're talking about here. I shared, for people who speak French in the group here, I shared a live on my Facebook a few days ago, and I was talking about how most entrepreneurs today in Africa are believing, buying into a myth, which is the money I need is somebody else needs to give me in a form of an aid, in a form of an award I will win in a competition.
Actually,
this is no entrepreneurship at all.
Holding you on that, right? Holding you on that. That was actually pushed me to my next question. What are some of the myths that have held entrepreneurs, to progress? Speaking from an African perspective, yes.
I'm speaking from an African perspective. The biggest myth that so-called entrepreneurs are holding to is the money that I need to run my business. Somebody else is going to give me in a form of an aid, in a form of an award that will win in a competition. And so today, entrepreneurs literally in Africa focus on how I can make my social media appear very appealing, very beautiful. How I can work on this product so that I can present it in a competition and win a prize, instead of focusing how can I build a solution that my neighbor will be willing to pay $50, will be willing to pay $10 to buy from me. Yeah. Entrepreneurship is not about somebody giving you the money to finance whatever operation that you're doing. Entrepreneurship is all about creating products and solutions that somebody is willing to pay money for. Businesses that last are businesses that created product, however absurd it is, that people were willing to actually take that product or the service in exchange for the money. That's what makes you build a business that lasts longer than your life. Because if you're only there, what are the eligibility criteria of competition? You need to be 25 years or younger. You need to be, from this country. You need to have a solution that is that can go digital or whatever. But if you took half of the time that people focus on beautifying their ideas, their products, their companies, their solution on social media, and literally go and one-on-one start talking to your next door neighbor, start talking to people in your community and say, this is the product, you put it in their hand. And once you put the product in their hand, which will go on my next point, the next myth. First myth is you think the money that you need to build a company that outlasts you is someone will give it to you. And the next myth is actually, who do you take your advice from?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we live in a world where TikTok, where entertainment is an industry that is booming. Let me tell you one thing. If you're on social media and you're not selling any product or you're not selling yourself, you are the product that's being sold. So who do you learn from? Entrepreneurs learn from majorly the priority, the number one person whose feedback, whose say matter in a business is not your mom. It's not your daddy. It's not your boyfriend. It's not your girlfriend. They will tell you, you know what, this thing, you're creating something that is not working. You're creating something that nobody has ever done this before. Just quit. Their opinion don't matter at all. The person's opinion that matters is that customer, that stranger who is willing, for example, to buy your version 1.0 of your product, and then will be willing to give you feedback and say, you know what, you can do this better next time. And then you release a 2.0 version of your product. You get some other feedback, release 3.0 version of your product. These are the people whose opinion matter the most, because they're not only willing to give their money to build your business, but also they're also willing to give their feedback. What does that mean? They get included in the conversation. So I'm talking from an entrepreneurship perspective here, but you can apply that whether you have a different career path. If you want to be an influencer, you want to be a leader, you want to learn from people who are sitting where you want to get, and you pay attention to what they're saying. And you take that as well, you take that in your community. These are the two biggest myths. Number one, the money that I need is in the hand of someone else in the form of foreign aid or an embassy, I don't know, whatever. Number two, the myth is you listen to the wrong people. And probably I would share the third myth. The third myth is actually that this is going to hurt a lot of you here, but it's going to be a truth that will set you free. This pill is going to go down hard, but it will set you free. Africa, our beautiful continent. We are always told that Africa is the future of the world. There is some truth in that. But if you would know just how much time people all over the world, the West, spend time on Africa being an actuality for them, not Africa being something in the future, you will be amazed. People in the West spend their time literally sitting down their whole departments in governments and in there are all forums that are held in countries not in Africa about Africa, where Africans are not invited. And then so we here just got our independence about 50 years ago. I'm from Congo. I'm a Congolese from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And that country's development is held down, and then there are atrocity, horrible things happening there. Nobody will talk about it in CNN as genocidal things happening there, because the more you bring a certain attention to a country in Africa, that goes against the interests of some people sitting in places you don't know. When you don't understand how interesting, how Africa is like, how can I say, Africa is like a cake that everybody's eyeing, and they're secretly eating off of that. Once you don't understand what position Africa is at, I'm telling you, you will not do anything macro. You will always be a victim to people who have bigger capital. So these are the three myths. I mean, we can spend time talking for hours
Wonderful.
about those stuff.
One more last question for you, Bright.
Yeah.
One more question. In your summary, what makes a very successful entrepreneur fit for the 21st century? Give us like three main characteristics, traits. How do you go beyond? Because at African Rebirth, we believe that our mission is to defy mediocrity, and we don't want to defy mediocrity in words or in somewhat. We want to defy mediocrity in action. And we believe that the people we train, the people that come to our events, they go with the mentality for excellence. How do we rise for, I know that many people here are entrepreneurs in one or the other, have some social enterprise, others purely business. So what makes you rise above the bar?
What makes you raise above the bar, number one, is what works with entrepreneurs all over the world. Finding a way that everything about you leads to sales. Exchanging products or services for somebody who is willing to pay money. If that will take you sharing lots of educational content to raise awareness about the necessity of the problem that you're meeting, just like Jocelyn was saying, be educational, but don't just say, hey, we have this promo. If this will take you to go speak to the person that you were raised to believe are your enemy, if that will take you literally to to walk under a torching sun, and then to go speak to people who actually need your product. Find a way to make sales become automatic. This is number one. Companies mostly fail 80% of time because there's no cash flow.
Yes.
This is number one. Unless you understand that entrepreneurship is not a fancy word that you put on your social media and then you tell everybody that I'm an entrepreneur if you don't have a product or a service that you're selling. Sales, I will never say it enough. Sales is everything.
Right.
I'll give you an example. During the pandemic, all over the world, especially in the West, I'm in Canada right now, companies started laying off people, their employees. And I will tell you, the very first people who were to go were the people who were, as far as possible, connected to making a revenue for the company. So companies got rid of every fancy position, every fancy roles, and companies did everything just to maintain their sales team. Why? Because companies understand that if we don't sell, we don't exist. And if you understand that, whether you're taking a career path that whatever organization you need to work with, you need to be the kind of a person they rely on to get their idea going, to get their products out there. And if that's your company, that's great. That's number one, sales. Number two, things that make you last longer is being ahead in terms of things that are trending. By the time you see something in the news, it's already probably too late. So what do I mean by that? I mean, probably less people in this, few people that you get to speak to know about the African free trade area, the agreement that was by the African Union. And then that's so dangerous not to know that, because what that means is somebody will come from your country, somebody will come from a different country into your country, invest a lot of capital in an industry that you probably started in, but because they have a bigger capital, you were selling something for let's say $100, and they come and they give a crazy promo and they sell 3 of the same products for $100 because they have a bigger capital to afford that too. So now, number 2 is you understanding that things like the African Free Trade Agreement is a big deal, because that you should be using that from now in your advantage. So that means if you're in a certain industry, let's say you're in software, you should be talking to people who are doing software in a different country, Senegal, in South Africa, and then so that you can create a network together that will take the overall market, so that you can be part of sharing that big cake, which is Africa, which is the market.
Right.
This is 2. 3 things that may keep you lasting longer. This is going to be nice. Is actually be willing. You should know that the politicians, the people that you see on TV, they are not the ones making decisions. People who are making decisions are people who puts them in office. And usually people who puts them in office are people who fund their campaign, who funds their stuff. And then so a true influencer is not the person you see on social media. A true influencer is that person you don't see on social media, but that's behind the platform that you're using. And if you can find a way everywhere you are in your country, wherever it's a startup you're working with, it's a company you're working with, it's a whatever, you get to I'll put it that way. Your influence is measured by how much you can own and control in whatever area. This is a dark knowledge, but it is the knowledge. People who last longer understand that I can influence from behind the scene, but I can be the loudest voice in the head of the person who's right there in front. Understand that people will do that to you when you will have a louder voice. And then so you should also be willing, literally now, to be also behind the scene, own as much and control as much as possible, so that 10 years from now, if all of us in the group here create a business today, and then 10, 20 years from now, we grow the capacity and the value of our business, our voice will be much more heard than a person who just goes and protests in the streets and then puts their life in line and end up with a bullet in their head and they get shot, and then just a cool thing for international media and say, hey, in Africa, people die in that way. In Africa, we have dictatorship. But if you understand that now you can start now a business, and the people in your circle as well, so that 10, 20 years from now, you have enough capital, then when you say something, even the politician get to listen to you.
Wow.
So these are basically the three things
Yeah.
I want to share about that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Coach Bright and Yvonne, for the wonderful presentation. We want to hear from, the young leaders on the platform. What they think, what the questions, which questions they have, how is their experiences. We'll keep it short, and but I'm sure that if we keep it short, we'll have enough time for everyone. Then at the end, we'll have a few words from our panelists, summarize, and we go. Thank you. I see Fatuma, I think. Yes, you raised your hand. Just go shoot the question or insight, anything.
Okay, good afternoon from my end. Am I audible?
Very audible, crystal clear.
Okay. The speech and everything was really so good, and that's it. So, but I've figured out some things, like he talked more about business, investing, industries. But my question here is that how can somebody working in the health sector, maybe as a doctor, as a nurse, or a midwife, like someone in the health sector, be an entrepreneur in the sense that how can somebody use that career to be called an entrepreneur, in the sense that how can the person market it, and how can the person be called an entrepreneur using that career as a nurse or a doctor? So that's my question.
Wonderful. So after you, we go to Lakshita.
Yes.
Laksh, do you mind calling you Laksh?
Yes.
Okay,
so
cool.
Can you hear me?
I think we will take questions once, then we will answer them once, right? How does that sound? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So my question goes to the first speaker, Jocelyn. Actually, when she spoke about digital marketing and then using influencer platforms. So what about the entrepreneur to create a policy for building a trust with the clients? Because I think this is the most important thing to do right now, given in the new coronavirus pandemic, we are all doing online businesses. So I think this is the most important thing. What about that the entrepreneur should create a policy to build a trust with the client? Because influencer is not about idea, but to what extent is the influencer effective, because it depends on the way they influence. So I saw that Coach Jonathan commented about this. So this is my question. And as as Coach Jonathan said, politicians may get to listen to us because of the capital we will be making with our business. So maybe they can create a relationship with us, thinking that maybe in return we can finance their political campaigns. So this is a way that we as young leaders, we should not get into trap in these kind of actions from the politicians. So this is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Laksh. Thank you. Okay. I hope Jonathan and Yvonne, you're taking down questions. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Bishara, You're mute.
Sorry for that. Hello, everyone. My question goes to Coach Jonathan. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Uh, as we know, when when you're young and you're trying to be entrepreneur and start business, there's many challenges that you face other than somebody else who is not maybe your age or who has a better experience than you, or maybe who has the capital. So one of the challenges that I have seen most to me was how to get the right people who work with you. So I want to ask Coach Janet, like, how do you manage that? How do you get the right? How do you get the right people work with you? If you get the people, how you make them the right ones that you can work with? Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Agustino Dime, you're the next in the line.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunities. I think my first question goes to Jonathan. First of all, congratulations for being a great man at that age. And we wish you well when you marry soon. My question is what is, yeah, what is this that a person like me who is still not an entrepreneur, or how do I even define myself that I'm entrepreneur? Because we have in our country where people don't completely believe, they don't understand the difference between an entrepreneur and somebody who is trying to start an enterprise. So we sometimes mix it up. So my question is, how do young people, because some of our talents are not discovered if we don't go for it. There are great people who can have good talent and they need it to be discovered. So to me, what is this that motivates you to start a business as an entrepreneur? Because not all of us in this group are entrepreneurs. Maybe some of us are in different fields. But with your presentation, I am really interested that today I would be charting up a journey to become one successful entrepreneur because I have learned a lot. What is this that motivates somebody who listens to your presentation that really you need to put this in place while not looking much on capital? Because as young leaders, we always feel that it is only capital that we should have before starting anything. That is one. And then the presentation by the previous presenter on the issues of digital, using digital communication as a means of doing branding your products and all this. Sometimes is as young people, we always tend to start issues of entrepreneurship. Like if I start by selling shoes, I start designing shoes out of the tires of cars, and then it's on market. And then my colleague or a friend will also start the same type of business.
Okay.
So you see,
yeah.
and now
Okay.
it becomes like we are competing. So how do you advise people on issues of trying to look at, because you're talking of collaboration, creating
Thank
up
you.
this idea? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want you guys to just go straight to the point. Just shoot at the heart. Navalona.
Okay, thank you, Enoch. I'm gonna be
Yes.
brief.
So brief, you have so many questions.
Yeah.
We
I
can't
think
finish
the major problem of African young leaders, we have that fixed mindset, like we cannot overcome certain limit that like block kind of barrier to us to make a step. So my question is, how can we get rid of that problem? I mean, like, how can believe in ourselves to make a step in our future entrepreneurship? Thank you.
Awesome. Like, just be quick, like Navalona said. So Nelson, I know Esther, then Sarah, then Nelson. Just be quick. And we'll stop there for questions, then we'll hear the answers for that.
Okay, thank you very much. My question goes to Jocelyn. I want to ask her, how do you strengthen your brand identity? As she told us about brand identity. So how can you strengthen it? Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So Sarah, good. That's quick. Sarah, ask a question so quick. Then Nelson. And then
Can we answer the first batch of questions and then?
that's so many, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
answer the, because we want to end by exactly. We can't exceed 1:30. I mean, like time, 30 minutes. We can't exceed like 1.5 hours. So let's have like that domain and answer the questions. Other conversations can be put on social media platform and continue the debate. Yeah. So thank you, Bright. Go ahead. And
No, I think Jocelyn can go ahead and then I will take on from there.
All right, cool. So thank you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I just took note of some questions from you guys. So first, about the idea of what kind of business can you create if you're a nurse or something like this. In my opinion, you can create a business, just my opinion, right? You can create a business like a kind of coaching about something that you learn there, like how to begin a career in yours. But it's just an example, but it can help also, for example, young people to give them an idea of kind of work that they can do, or some passion. You even can, how to say, combine in the beginning the salary and also to be an entrepreneurship, and just not to, how to say, to find first your passion about this, just an idea of coaching or something like this. And about the influence policy, I think, yes, you are right that we need to, how to say, you need to create trust between the customers and the company. But what you can do, the idea, the benefits of collaborating with influencers first is just to make you known. I mean, to make you, the influencers is just there to make you known first that you exist. But just after this, your customers, I mean, your leads will be redirected to your page, and there you should have already put your content, like testimonials, like values and all this stuff. The card is in your hands, so there you need to play before the collaborating with influencers to publish contents that making values. So this is the idea, just to give you visibility. But yes, exactly, you need to build a trust between you and your customers. And the question of Navalna, I think, how can you make entrepreneurship? So that is, I don't know if you know the method of Ikigai. So the method of Ikigai is first to search for your talent. What is your talent? What is your passion? Just to say that in entrepreneurship, you need to be, how to say, to be passionate, and you need to be determined. And my suggestion is just to check what make you passionate about something, or how to say, a talent. And after this, you need to check if it's a need of person, if there is a need in the market, if your talent is needed or not. And the last thing, if you can make money from this idea. So then you meet the vocation, because you are doing something that you like, that people need, and so that you can also be paid. So this is the idea. You need to do this exercise and to search how to say, to ask yourself to know better yourself. And the last question, how to strengthen your brand identity. So as I said, first you need to build all the colors, all the message, the name of a mark. But after this, you need to keep to post, for example, on the social media about your credibility, about testimonials, about storytelling, to collaborate with others. So little by little, but the one secret is always to provide quality. This is how, because testimonials, the biggest way of communication is a positive testimonial from your customer. This is the first and the biggest mean of communication. Ever you receive just a positive testimonial from a customer, it's gonna be like how to say, it's easier for you to communicate, to promote your product. So yes, I think it's finished for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Jocelyn. This is amazing. First of all, I'll be answering a couple of questions. I just want you to know you can save a whole lot of hustle and a whole lot of years when you invite somebody who knows what they're doing. It can be myself, it can be Jocelyn, to take the risk with you. So that means like lots of us here still, lots of us in Africa or where I'm from and back in Congo, people want to hold on their stuff. It's all for me. It's all for myself. You can give 20% of your company, of your startup to a coach who knows what they're doing, and then they will not charge you a single cent for their consultation, but you get to be partners on your business together. In that way, they will invest 100% of their time in you as if they're working also on their stuff. So that means, for example, if you talk to me and then Spears Connect will come to you and help you in your countries and whatever you're doing, the day you'll start making profit, guess what? You will just do, you have your 80%, they have their 20%, and you get to share it that way. You get actually to win in that area. So this answers probably many questions here. Number two, the nurse question, like you can be a nurse, you can be an IT, you can be whatever, like how can you create, what can we advise you in that area? Hey, you're a nurse, you're working for a hospital is a business. You're a journalist, you're working for a media, a TV or whatever. This is a company. So now this is already an established system. So if you don't know where to start, guess what? Start planning, say for example, I will be working here for 3 years. And within 3 years, what I'll be doing, I'll be learning everything I need to know about, hey, this hospital, how did they get from 5 years ago, for example, being here to today being here? And then so spend time with the people who founded the business. Probably they're not approachable. Somebody asked the question, how do you get to high people? These questions go together. Number one, the way you approach these high people is not by a beggar. This is what we think in our African or in our African mindsets, that when you approach these people, they think you're going to beg. This is another myth I didn't get to talk about. These people, I'll tell you, these people are suffering for what they call the legacy crisis. What is a legacy crisis? A legacy crisis is whoever professional, whoever business person, whoever elder, senior person who has spent years working on something, working on their company or being in that, holding that office. They have spent years, but unfortunately, they're suffering that deep down because they know they're going to die soon. They'll not live forever, but they don't have any person that they are sharing their knowledge and their experience with. The only single greatest way to approach this people is to approach them with amazing questions. What type of questions? Questions that tap their ego, on their ego. Like when I approach a person, I'll be like, wow, you hold this office for I don't know how long. I know, for example, for a company such like this to run, you need to select the right people, not only to select the right people, but also positioning the right people at the same time. When I grow up, I want to be like you. What would you advise somebody who is in my age right now? If that was yourself, you were in my age today, what would you be telling yourself so that you can get to this level? And then this question does multiple things. Number one, it pats them on their back. It says somebody has recognized their contribution. Number two, it makes you interesting in their eyes. You have given them something. You're not getting something. You ask the question in a position as if you're actually giving them something. You're complimenting them. I've learned this a big deal when, for example, I was in a foreign country. I went to Burundi to study, and I was only 17 years old. And then so what I started doing, I realized that I was studying computer science back then. And then the thing is, I knew you spend 3 years studying computer science. By the time you enter and by the time you leave, you graduate, the knowledge that you have acquired is already obsolete. So I realized, I said, I need probably to spend more time to listen to professionals, to managers, to leaders, to employers, and spend the time asking them questions like, which kind of people do you guys hire? Like whenever you decide to hire some people, what are you looking for beyond just good marks? You'll be shocked by what most of them told me. It's like, we don't even look at whether you did 80% or 90% in your when you were studying. We're looking for a person who did 60%, spent a whole big deal of their time actually doing extracurricular activity, working with other organization, expanding their network, a person who can be bilingual, who can speak English, who can speak French, a person who can actually present something, a person who can go meet a stranger and start a conversation. So this question, approach these people as a student, as if you want to learn something from them. You'll be surprised by the number of things that they will tell you. Another question I like asking is, for example, who do you know that I may need to know? And then by the time you've already asked them a question that taps their ego, they'll introduce you to their network. They'll start introducing you to people of their circle that you might have never probably know that they're behind a certain thing. Only when you start having a conversation with them, you realize like, oh, so you're the guy behind that thing. We never heard about you in on the media. We never saw you on TV whatsoever. And then so the more you become like a protege from for them, you take them as your mentors, and then you'll follow their advices. Tomorrow, they might trust you with their money and say, hey, I can invest this amount of money in your business so that you can start going. Last question, I think that's Augustino that asked the question. Capital is not a critical thing for you to start. Capital is the end. You start a business not so that you can boast about it. You start a business so that you can also gather and grow capital so that you can create wealth. And then so the myth is actually we have taken capital as if it was the most critical. It was actually the heartbeat of every startup. Every startup starts off of a solution. And then along the way, they realize that there's an opportunity to grow bigger. What they do, they go present to certain people who have the money and say, hey, here is our idea. If you guys are interested in entrepreneurship, I'll advise you to watch a show called Shark Tank. I'll write it in the chat here. Shark Tank or Dragon's Den. Dragon's Den. So this show here show you where entrepreneurs go and pitch their ideas in front of investors who invest the money in their business. We don't have such thing in Africa, but we're bringing it in Africa soon. So now you will hear what the kind of questions that investors get to ask. It can be the kind of question that person in your community that has the capital. It can be your uncle that has the capital, but they will not just give it to you like that. So they ask questions like, how you go present it to them? Here is the idea, here's the solution. We've been able to sell this amount of our product to this amount of people. We have made this amount of revenue, but to realize that to go to next level, to serve many more people, we need this amount of money. And if you give us this amount of money, what will happen? We will give you this certain percentage of our business so that you can also join us as an investor. This is how you get capital. You don't get capital when you have nothing at hand to give in exchange. I think if you're interested in taking more of this conversation, as my thank you to ANOC and African Rebirth, we can have a private consultation. You can visit my social media, and then we can connect from there and take the conversation further to make it specific to the context of the country where you're from. You're on mute, Enoch. You're on mute.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Bright and Yvonne, for the beautiful conversation. It's capital is your mind first. When you build the mind, you build wealth. Just like our facilitator said. So I see 2 hands, so we have not more than 20 minutes to end. So I would like to Abel and Sarah to shoot at the point, and then we see the questions. And in our chat box, we have people are saying that recommend some books of great entrepreneurs, like business people, recommend some of the books. And it's a very interesting question, is what's the relationship between entrepreneurship and leadership? That's a very good point. So, Abel, your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Elo. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, very good. For the interest of time,
we can't hear you. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, if
that's better.
Your question in the chat box.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, good. My question goes to Mr. Jonathan. I heard you talking about the myth where young entrepreneurs nowadays are basing on, but in this 21st century, where social media is very high, where we have different platforms where we are getting knowledge, where we are listening to different successful entrepreneurs, we have been able to get more information and gain different information about entrepreneurship. But then I heard you talking about listening to the long people. So that means that listening to long ideas about entrepreneurship. But then how are we, the young entrepreneurs, how are we going to differentiate from the long ideas or long people from those good ones? Since we are getting different information about entrepreneurship. Here it goes where you find someone, someone just takes a decision where he follows someone who has been successful, and it is minus basing on what he or she can do or he or she loves. Yeah, thank you very much.
Good question. Good question. Sarah, then Yabanish, and we close it from there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Enoch, and everyone who is here. I really appreciate the 2 people who just talked, and all the points that they have made. They are very clear and so informative. Like I said before, I'm running some few things like the business. I'm running some small businesses, but my question is that how do you, in case you do not get the expected sales that you want, and then you've tried to market, you've tried to tell people, and then and maybe you're not getting what you expect. So what can you do exactly so that you can increase your sales? Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Then Yabanish.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. My question is that, so the most important thing that you said is sales. So you have to sell yourself, sell a service or a product. So someone who wants to be a leader in the future, let's say a prime minister or something, where do you start selling yourself? So let's say I want to be a prime minister in 13 years time. So where do I begin? Who do I sell myself to? Thank you.
Very good question. Okay, you timed right. We just have like 10 minutes to call it a day. I'm sure that 10 minutes is enough to cover the questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to be quick. And again, we can, these are existential questions that matter for you, people who want to be prime ministers in the future, a person who's already running a business, who is not doing that well in their sales, and a person, how can we differentiate wrong from good? Abel, you asked the question of how can you differentiate the wrong people, the wrong advices from the right advices? Number one, there's a point that I shared saying, begin with the end in mind. What is your end after all? Okay, So most of us, we still have an emotional attachment. Okay, the people who break our hearts the most are the people we are the most emotionally attached to. Probably what's your mother, your father, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend gets to tell you about gets to tell you something. You take that much more in consideration because you're emotionally attached to the person, they have influence over you. But now that you're an entrepreneur, you're serving a whole bigger community than just your family, than just people you're emotionally attached to. In most cases, by the time our family join and believe in our products, and believe in our journey, believe in what we're doing, strangers have already believed in what we're doing way longer before these people joined it. So now, when it comes to your company, when it comes to improving your products, your services, and what you're offering, the best people to listen from is not your mom, is not your dad, is not the people you're emotionally attached to. The first people you can learn from are the people who really literally consume and come buy from you. And that means, for example, if somebody has bought from you, if they're not giving you their feedback out of the bat, just like that, by their own initiative, which they usually don't do, go ahead and ask them. Because one customer that buys from you is probably a way bigger source of business than anybody that has never bought from you. Because that person has used your product, it means that they can easily recommend your product and refer your business, only if you go to them and ask the right way. Most entrepreneurs will be asking like, hey, can you recommend some people to me and to come buy to me? And people are saying, nah, I'm not. They'll say no, because you didn't ask right. When you're asking, make them feel as if they actually are part of your business, that you value their feedback. The way I ask for a referral, for example, would be like, hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much for buying from us, but we would love to serve you better in the future. And literally, is there, okay, how we do that, for example, for startup, is with a small thing as just choosing your logo. A lot of people, when you start your idea, yes, you will have to make a logo for your business. And then so they go and they choose a logo by themselves. I'm like, who does that? Yeah, it's okay to choose your logo by yourself. That's a good thing. But you're missing out on the opportunity to engage people in a conversation that will make them curious. Curiosity is what creates more sales, when people are curious about what you're doing. So for a small thing like your logo, for example, when the startups, the businesses that I work with, when they're choosing their logo, I tell them, don't ask my advice, okay? Get a designer who will give you, for example, 4 different logos. Take those samples, post on your social media, post on your timelines, post on your stories, and ask people to say, hey, our business, we are just getting to choose our new logo. Help us choose our logo. People will choose number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. And then from there, you engage with these people in the chat and say, hey, thank you so very much for sharing with us your logo. Can you tell us why? What did you like about those logo? Hey, they will tell you, oh, you know what? What I liked about that logo is because of this, and that. As well, why?
Have a few minutes. We have
yeah.
a minutes break. Just get to the point. We have 5 minutes remaining.
Good. I'll be done by 5 minutes. And then so you engage with them in the conversation, then you find out, oh yeah, we like this, and that will you're like amazing. The next question will be like, hey, have you ever bought from us? Have you ever used our products before? They'll tell you no. And then you've already broken the ice, and then you're engaging in a conversation with them that shows them that your business, their opinion is valued. Do you have the guts to ask them for their opinion? This is just an example. So for a person struggling with their sales, for a person struggling saying, for example, where should I sell myself? For a person struggling with their sales, question yourself, how much of your customers do you ask for their feedback? Because these are sources of potential business. You've already gotten their business. They are much more likely to recommend you to their friends, their family. The question of the person who said, I want to be a prime minister in the future, where should I start to sell myself? Number one, choose an area where you can be an authority. Is it climate change? Is it environmental issues? Is it businesses? Choose a specific area. Is it mental health? Choose a specific area where you literally create on social media a certain following on you sharing, constantly advocating for that. This is one. Advocate for a specific cause. Learn from Enoch. Enoch, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Enoch is my friend. Enoch aspires to be the president of his country in a couple of years. You know, we're all going to work on his campaign. Oh, Enoch for president, Enoch for president. So what Enoch is doing today, when I met Enoch a few years back when African Rebirth started, and then we had a show on a Rwandan TV. This is some old videos. You guys probably don't know the genesis of African Rebirth. It started to way back then. Enoch, we had a conversation with Enoch. And then now Enoch started saying, hey, the only way for me to get to that end is for me to add as much value as possible to African leaders. Because tomorrow it will be easier for me to say, of all the candidates that will be listed on that election, I hope it will be by election that he will be the president, but not with other means. But if it's other means as well, we are there to support him. So Enoch started now African Rebirth. He's becoming an authority with everything that's related to leadership, to diplomacy, to advocating, and all of that. And now, when you pile all these experiences and the people he had a conversation with, the people that were impacted through his work, and put it down on a table when he's competing with another person during that election time or whatever means that he will use, his voice will be louder than anyone else. So first place, you need to start yourself. If you don't know where you need to start yourself, talk to a coach, talk to someone who will help you actually pinpoint and say, hey, you took this personality test. We had a conversation. I think this is an area where you can raise a voice. So
thank you.
That's it.
Bright can go on and on and on. Just to be clear, I'm not doing this gathering a political capital, please. That's his Coach Jonathan insight. I'm not doing this for political capital. It's just because I am very passionate about African style and African development, just to be clear. One is we have, Yvonne, do you have something to say? And with your conclusive remarks.
So thank you so much for sharing, Coach Jonathan, and thank you so much also for being here with us today. Just to say that my idea, maybe to close my intervention, is just to tell you that first you need to work on yourself before working for others. What do I mean? You need to know first what is your passion, what is the things that you need to do, all these things, and you need to put a brand, a tag for yourself before others will put it for you. So first know yourself and do this. And the second things, I want just to confirm what the Coach Jonathan said. Choose the people around you. This is very important also. Choose them. Do not hesitate to go through all this person. You just need to see how I want to be, and you have a kind of image, and go ahead, contact this person, and you will have some advices, some ideas from this person, and go away from this person who say you'll never do that, you'll never become a leader or something like this. And first, not wait to be perfect to begin, just begin now. And it's better to begin with little steps instead of a big step and you finish nothing at the end of the year. Begin little by little. Today, I'm just asking myself who I am, what I do, what is my passion, competencies, and all this stuff. Tomorrow, you will search for these coaches, the image that you want. After this, you will build an idea of a project, the needs, and all this stuff. And little by little, you're gonna reach it. That's the idea. Yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you.
So thank you so much, Coach Jonathan, Yvonne. I give you my hands, and everyone can appreciate them. Appreciate our panelists for doing a great job. So thank you very much. You can connect with them. The purpose of African Rebirth is also a networking channel. So make sure you connect with people. Make sure you connect with every speaker we bring on the table. Make sure you connect with them. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for sparing your time and attending this business. The reason why we do this is one person was saying about like African political problems and said that I wish every African, like every society in Africa would have like a business mentality, because in business, you don't look at tribes. Have you ever had a businessman saying, I want to sell my product to a particular tribe? No, but it's often the politician for divide and rule. So how about we adopt with the same politics of not looking at tribes, but maximizing interests that develops as a society. So business is very good. Once people are rich, they stop fighting small fights, tribalism, ethnicities. They see interest. Every businessman sees interest. Because even the most tribalistic person you have ever met, trust me, when they're behind closed doors, they are selling to a particular tribe when they don't have no connection. So the reason for this, for Africa to develop, is we have to garner a critical mass of middle class young entrepreneurs. And young people are the future. And when the future is not right, this destiny is not right. So we take these things very serious. So thank you so much, Jonathan.
And that's why I want you for president.
Please. This looks like some kind of endorsement. Okay. So yeah, for sure, for our young leaders who are in the channel, on the platform, we are going to keep in touch with you. And everyone, like we said, we are going to be grouped in different discussion groups. We are going to take this conversation further, and we will group you and we will communicate in the chat and the box, in the chat. Just check your inbox very well, the WhatsApp one. So thank you very much. Have a very good weekend, and have yourself, give yourself a nice treat. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a very good day and night for those. Yeah.
Evening from my end. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, Yvonne. I guess it's night in Romania
Bye.
now.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Take care. Take care. Have a very nice day.
Good night from Uganda.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
See you
Goodbye.
again.